Hello everyone, this is Wendy De Rosa, and this video is on a very common question that I receive often in lots of trainings and workshops that I'm teaching, and it's about grounding, and the it's a huge topic, grounding in intuition. So much is being talked about in energy work with relation to grounding, in change of seasons. Grounding is so important. I mean, grounding overall is incredibly important. But this video is on what is grounding, but also what happens if I can't ground, if I cannot get grounded, and if my version of grounding looks different than what you're describing. This is this is important to address. So, first of all, grounding is another way of a phrase for it is, or a word for it is earthing. And grounding is the experience of getting connected to the earth energetically. So the biosphere of the earth, the energy frequencies of the earth, and relaxing and coming into your body. But it's the in the energetic system, it's the experience of the lower half of the body descending downward and getting connected to the earth frequency, basically from the lower half of the body, that creates a sense of vitality and restoration and calm and peace, and it settles our mind and it settles our intuition, and we can get much clearer when we are grounded. Grounding is also the experience of going inward. So, inward towards the center of the body, the central channel of the body, as opposed to expanded out to the periphery of the body. So, grounding on the energetic level in the body is in and down in the body with our energy, the way energy is, it flows in the body. And so there are many ways to ground. We can take our shoes off and go outside and stand on the earth. That's one of the easiest, most accessible ways of grounding, unless it's midwinter and there's snow outside. That can make it hard. But you can certainly take your shoes off and be in your own space and take some deep breaths and allow your breath to settle in and syncopate with an intuned awareness of what's rising from the earth. So it's about grounding, it's about settling in and becoming in tuned with the earth frequency, feeling, breathing, sensing, and allowing your system to settle down into your legs and feet, and feel feel your body physically in the body, and be in tuned with your lower body. Some imagery can be very helpful. Visualizations for grounding can be very helpful. One I use all the time, which is the grounding cord. So, not just seeing it as a skinny little cord from your tailbone, but visualizing it as a wide cord that connects from your hips and your low belly and your low spine. So it connects to the top of the pelvic bowl and then extends down into the earth. And some people like to hike it up a little bit higher, so it includes the low belly and the low spine to give a sense of security to those lower chakras that can be a little vulnerable sometimes. So just having that sense of security in your low body, and then letting the grounding cord extend down deep into the earth and allow it to sprout roots. Well, sometimes when I've given that visualization to people in a class, and given them a practice to work with, sometimes what comes back is I can't do it. My roots are shallow to the earth. If I visualize it, I don't, I can't see it go all the way down to the ground. I fall asleep. I can ground for 5 minutes, and then next thing you know, I turn around and I'm back up in my head, or I'm back up in an anxious state. My system can't ground. So, a couple things to be aware of about this is that, for one, um, sleep is grounding, and rest and getting tired is grounding. And sometimes when we go through healings, people will say, I'm tired when I go through this healing, when I'm experiencing this deep guided journey. And oftentimes we get tired or fatigued within a healing because it's an indication of how much our system actually does need to ground and come in, and that a part of us is elevated from the grounding element in the body. And so we go into these deeper healing states, and it invites us to surrender the mind and to come into this deeper, more theta state in our body, and that's that sleep state, in between sleep state, where actually healing does happen in that state. But we need to surrender the mind, relax the mind so that we can come into that deeper state of being. So sleep is an aspect of grounding, and if it feels like I fall asleep, great, you're grounding. That's good. That's a good thing. And if it feels like I'm hearing you, Wendy, I am visualizing the grounding cord and I don't get it. I don't see anything. I'm not connected to it. Then my response would be, let's check in with your other aspects of intuition. Do you feel your legs and feet? Do you feel your sit bones making contact with the ground? Do you have an awareness in your lower body of perhaps a heaviness in the legs and feet, but a rise up through the center of the body, an elongation of the spine? In that case, I would say visualize. Sometimes when you're given the prompt to visualize, but visualization doesn't come that easily for you, you can get derailed by that. I'm not visualizing it, I can't see it. So instead, can you feel it? Can you sense it? Can you listen or be in tuned with? Use a different word. You don't have to visualize. Can you get another sense in the body of what it feels like to be grounded into the earth? Um, and so someone posted here just in this video, Barbara says she goes to the ocean to inhale salt water and listen to the waves crash. Again, you can start to transport yourself into a different a setting, maybe even imagine that the roots grow up from the earth and you're sitting on this beautiful tree stump, that's been offered up from the earth as a chair for you to sit in. I mean, your imagination can go wild, or you can recall within your memory, where is my happy place that I like to go and ground and feel more connected to myself. And you can recall that space and evoke that felt sense in your body for grounding. That's another beautiful way to ground. Another is, if you can get out into nature, like I mentioned, feet on the ground. And even if you can't, take a seat somewhere outside and or even lay on the grass, or bring a blanket, whatever, whatever feels accessible to you and feels really authentic to you. You feel drawn to it. To again, let yourself detach from distraction and come into your own state of being in yourself, and you're coming into your grounding. Some other examples is is to allow for the earth energy to come up through your legs and feet, and just breathe it, syncopate it with your breath. I'm breathing in the energy of the earth into my legs and feet, into my pelvis, and then back down through my grounding cord. So letting it come up and in, up through my legs, and then back down through my grounding cord into the center of the earth. So it's running a cycle through your lower body. And if you find you're someone who feels that, my roots aren't growing deep enough, and that you can see that or connect to that imagery, then I would recommend for a couple things. One is just notice that without any judgment or without any problem, not make it a problem, but just keep allowing your roots to source you and give to you earth. If it feels like you can ground deeper, then in a visualization, perhaps see if you can direct your roots down further into the earth and use the imagery or the awareness of I am grounding into more stability. Despite my life story, despite my history, I as a soul am grounding down into myself and into the earth. you can work with that. And again, if it's not happening for you, don't make it a problem. Just simply tune in to how your body's grounding. Perhaps apply one of these suggestions that I'm giving you, and let yourself, take the time to let your body do its grounding. Keep in mind, with grounding, with meditation, with any level of tuning in, it takes 10 minutes for the body to settle down before meditation starts. So if we're only meditating for 10 minutes, we're just getting into the start of it. It's not, we're not fully into it within 10 minutes. We just start the process where the body and the nervous system has relaxed to a point where now grounding is happening. Now the body feels safe enough to start to open up. So sometimes we might have to build up to, that time, that amount of time. Now, not everybody needs to spend 10 minutes grounding, but if you are having trouble grounding, it still take some time and think and feel into what would it be like for me to sit longer in the process, and stay through the experience of the body wanting to eject itself out of grounding. The body wants to take off from here. How do you resist the urge and just give yourself some time and space to settle in to the grounding? Lastly, if everything I'm saying still you're saying, I get it, I sit with it, I do it, I rebound, I visualize, I feel, and still, Wendy, I'm not grounding, then what I would say to you is that it's important to check in with yourself about whether or not there is healing needed at the root chakra, at the lower half of your body. If the state of ungrounding is chronic to a point where it wasn't safe for me to settle into myself in my body, and there's a block essentially in that area in my lower body, and it was protective in nature, keeping me from grounding or settling into myself or having myself. And I'm now at a place in my life where I can start to look at my healing process and say, you know what, now I need to really take a hard look at what is happening here energetically in the lower half of my body, where I might need to seek out a deeper, a deeper healing, or work with a healer and really start to look at what is holding there on a condition level, meaning our conditioning, on a family history level, on a soul history level. What is it that I'm holding in my body on a belief system level that is keeping me from grounding in my body? So at that point, if all the practices are not working, the answer is healing. It means that there's healing that's needed in the body, and that's a great time to start to look for someone to work with, a healer to work with. We have healers at the School of Intuitive Studies. You can visit my website, schoolofintuitivestudies.com, and find a healer, and they work virtually if you do feel like you need energy healing specifically for you. So just know that that's available. And I'm just going to just answer a couple questions. Patricia, probably silly question. What are sit bones? No, not silly. If you have the question, somebody else will have the question. The bones, the pelvic bones at the base of your seat. Right? It's the bones we sit on. So from the sit bones beneath your seat or at your seat, and the sides of your hips and your low belly, from there extending down into the earth, is the top of your grounding cord. So just referring to that question. And from here, I would just, I just hope this information was helpful in terms of grounding, and for those who might be struggling with grounding. Just keep in mind transitions and seasons are are important times to ground, but difficult times to ground because there's a lot of wind essentially moving the season forward. So it can be harder to ground, easier to be in the head. We want to be logical and planning, especially in the fall, maybe less, maybe more exciting in the spring. But just keep in mind that there's other energetic forces that might keep us from feeling grounded, but it's important for us to stay grounded and get grounded in ourselves because it supports us with healthy intuition, clear intuition. We don't make clear intuitive, decisions or choices from being ungrounded or scattered in our head. So grounding is important for that. Also for overall health and well-being, for your adrenals, for your hormones, for your nervous system, for stress. All around, grounding is super important. So I hope this was helpful. Many blessings. You can always visit my website, School of Intuitive Studies, if you would like to learn more. And I look forward to connecting again in the future, soon, very soon.